there, I'm going to go step by step with you on the Forms add-on Form Ranger and show you some of the things that I use it for. If you've watched my two previous ones, Autocrat and Form Mule, those two are Sheets extensions. And I use Form Ranger a lot too, but it's actually a Forms add-on. So for it, you do all of its work in your form. Okay, so the other two you go to Sheets to use, but this one you go to Forms. So you're going to click this little puzzle piece in your form that you're going to use it on, and click that, and then Form Ranger will pop up, and you just click it, and you're going to click Start to start it. Now, how I use Form Ranger is, in this particular scenario, is when teachers want to log a behavior incident for a student, they get to choose, is it a sixth grade student? And then all the sixth grade students are dropped down in a list for them, or is it seventh grade and dropped down in a list? So how I use it is to populate that list of students. So I have in my sheet, I have a list of all the sixth grade students. And then I have another sheet or another sheet tab with all the seventh grade students. And then I have another sheet tab with all of the eighth grade students. So if you do have several different drop down lists that you are going to create in your form, you need to have a separate sheet tab in your sheet for each of those. Okay. The reason this is so much better than just, copying and pasting the names into your form is because it's so much easier to update it. If you know how students, they move in, they move out, and the students in each class is kind of constantly always changing. Not constant, but it changes a lot. And if you ever have to, and I want my list alphabetical, so if the teacher's looking, for someone with the name of Smith, they know they're going to have to scroll near to the bottom. So I don't want to have to add new students at the bottom. I want them to be alphabetically in the list. And in a form, if you've got a list of like 300 to 500 students in the class, it takes forever to get one back up to the C's to put it with the Coopers or whatever. So it's so much easier just to do that in your sheet and update it that way. Now, I have seen some systems where just periodically you go into Infinite Campus, you get a new list of all the students in that class, and you just paste it in there. And it's just so much easier to do it with Form Ranger and let Form Ranger populate your sheet than just doing it manually. So that's what we're doing here today. So we've opened Form Ranger, and when it pops up with this little pop-up, it's giving you all of the opportunities you have to do this. So it can do a multiple choice, a drop down, a checkbox, or grid questions. Honestly, I have only ever used multiple choice, drop down, and check boxes. I haven't ever used it for a grid question, but I'm sure it works exactly the same. So I don't need it for grade of student because that's only 3 things ever. The ones I need it for are these 3. 6th grade student name, 7th grade student name, and 8th grade student name. So I already have those set up. I'm going to go ahead and just click on them. And you have to actually select that you want it to populate from a range. And I'm going to go ahead and click edit so you all can see the steps that you go through. The first thing you do is you're going to select whatever sheet it's attached to. I'm going to cancel, but you may have to, it usually pulls up the last sheet you were working on, which is almost always the one that you need anyway. I'm going to cancel that, but you just select the sheet. Here we go. And then within that sheet, you select the sheet tab. So here is where I said, if you're doing like 6th grade, 7th, 8th, and 8th grade, different lists, you need to make separate sheet tabs, because here I have my 6th grade list, my 7th grade list, and my 8th grade. So I'm doing 6th grade, and it does ask you if that has a column header and then what column header you want it to use. And it gives you a sample of your data over on the side just to make sure you've selected the right comma. And here you give it a range name, and I'll be honest, this is required. I've never seen that anywhere. I don't know why you have to give it a range name. I think it's just one of those little things that Form Ranger needs to run. And then you just click save and populate question, and it takes whatever list you have in that sheet, in that column, and populates your list. So it's just so much easier when you're having to update a really long list in your form, because you have to scroll up and find the exact place, especially if you're doing an alphabetical. It's just so much easier to do that in your sheet. Form Ranger is really simple to run, really simple to set up. It doesn't take very long. It's kind of spinning on me today. At the bottom, I know these are dimmed, but I don't know why it's still spinning. I hope I haven't messed up my form. You notice you have an option on form submit or every hour. I choose on form submit because I want, that's actually not true. On this, I don't think they're both off because I do it manually. I don't want this form constantly running in the background. And for this, my list does not change on a form submit. So I actually have both of those turned off, and I run it manually just whenever I update the list. So if periodically, the principal might give me updates like, hey, these 3 students have left, but we've added these 4. And so I'll go in and I'll update the list, and I'll come into Form Ranger and just run it manually. There's another scenario. I'm going to show you an example where I use it as a choice eliminator. And when I use it as a choice eliminator, I choose on form submit because I actually want it to update, because it's counting the number of times a certain choice has been made so that it can start possibly eliminating choices. So for this one, if it's just updating a name list, I choose neither on the repopulate, and I just do that manually. But if it's on a choice eliminator, I always choose on form submit. One thing I do like about Form Ranger is if I'm doing the manual update, all I have to do is open Form Ranger, and as soon as it loads, it's done the repopulate. I don't have to do anything in the little sidebar. It just, as soon as you open it, it automatically does a repopulate. So I really like that about it. So the one that I want to show you how I use it as a choice eliminator. So remember, what Form Ranger will do is you give it a list in a sheet, and that's what it's going to put as the choices in the form, right? So I always use choice eliminator light if I want to just remove after one selection. So if you have like so many time slots available is usually what I use it for. And as soon as someone chooses that time slot, you want that option to go away. Choice eliminator light actually works very effectively if it's always one. So as soon as someone chooses the 12 o'clock time and you want it gone, use choice eliminator light. It actually works very well. However, if you have more choices for that same time, so for example, one of the elementaries that I was helping, they have a kindergarten like registration night where new kindergartners and their parents will come. They'll learn about the school and kind of become an orientation. So they have 3 times to do that. They have a 5:30, a 6, and a 6:30. But they only want 20 kids at a time. So as soon as 20 kids sign up for 5:30, they want 5:30 to no longer be an option on the form. Okay, and then whoever logs in next, they're only going to see 6 or 6:30, and those are going to be their only choices. So for that, I use Form Ranger, but I have to set in some formulas to make that work. And I put screenshots on my presentation on how to do that, but I'm going to kind of explain how I do it for you. So when I'm using Form Ranger as a choice eliminator, here's are my form responses, and then I always have an extra tab here called, and I name it Form Ranger just so I know exactly what's happening in it. I always set it up exactly the same. In fact, at this point, whenever I need a new one, I'll just come back to one of these and copy and paste this entire page and then just adjust it. Okay. So you can do the same thing. I always have a setup column, a look for responses, and display on the form. Okay. So I use the setup column, and these are going to be all of your original choices for times or whatever. And it's, I don't think I've ever done one where it isn't a time. I may have done one for like a food sign up. We were, having a potluck, and they're like, we only want 3 people to bring desserts. Then you have to bring something else. So I think I set up desserts at 3 and only, 3 people could bring 2 liters or something like that. So I think I did do a food one time, but most of the time it's for time signups. So you set up all of your available times here. Another way I've used this is our sports physicals. In the summer, we have 3 nurses, at each location at a time. So there could be 3 kids sign up for each, for 12 and 12, 20, 3, 3, and 3. So I have a lot of times listed down through here. But for this kindergarten sign up, she only wanted 3 times. And then in this middle column, I'm going to click here. And I'll zoom in on this formula so you can see it a little better. Okay, so in B2, this is your first little magic formula here, okay? So you want to use the formula count if, and then form responses 1. This is just where your form responses are coming in. So this is what they're choosing. If G to G equals A2. And just for me in this scenario, G to G is the time question. Okay, so if anywhere in column G, it's counting down column G. That's all this formula is doing. If it matches A2. So anytime 5:30 appears in column G, it's counting. Okay, and I just copy the formula down. So in this one, anywhere in column G, if A3 appears, which is 6 o'clock, it's counting. And then again, I copied it down. Anytime 6:30 appears, it's counting. So you can see that 5:30 is at 19, okay? And she can allow for 20 at a time. And this is actually pretty interesting because this is a live form going on now, and I have it set at 20. So maybe while we're recording, we'll see the 20th one happen. So, 19 people so far have selected 5:30 for their time, okay? So then in this last column, display on the form, we're going to click right here, and I have just an if formula. So if B2, which is our count, is greater than 19, which we're at 19 right now, so it is not greater than 19, it is still 19, okay? So if you know if statements, you put your criteria in, then you put your true statement, and then you put your false statement, okay? So our criteria is if B2 is greater than 19. Our true statement is if that is true, so when that hits 20, you put something else in quotation marks. And what I want is nothing to show up, right? I want 5:30 to be gone, so I want nothing to be there. So I put nothing in quotation marks, but you actually have to put the quotation marks with nothing in between it, okay? So as soon as this hits 20, so as soon as one more person selects 5:30, this is going to be blank. 5:30 will disappear. Because our false statement is it's going to put whatever's in A2, which is what we've set up over here. Okay, so again, what we have is this is counting for us. It's counting every time 5:30 is chosen. This is saying until this reaches greater than 19, put what's in A2. So let 5:30 show, but as soon as this is greater than 19, show nothing. And that's how it eliminates the choices on the form. Now, you might ask, why don't I just put equals 20 here? And there is a reason, and I have had this happen before. There is a little bit of processing time. Anytime you're doing a form, or anytime a formula might have to run, or anytime anybody's submitting anything, there is a little processing time. It's usually a few seconds, but it exists, okay? And I have had this happen where you have 2 people, different places, but they're on the form at the exact same time, and they literally submit the form at the same time, okay? that can actually mess up your responses, because right now we're sitting at 19 and there could be two people submitting forms 20 and 21 at the exact same time. And it actually processes before Formule has a chance to run, because there is about a 2 to 5 second processing time. Okay. So it is possible that this could go to 21 and never be at 20. So, and if it's at 21 and you have put equals 20, it doesn't meet that criteria anymore. And so 530 is still going to show. So, not only is that messed up, you're going to have a lot more people sign up for 530 because it never equaled 20. Okay. So I always back it up one and just do greater than 19. And I promise you, I know that sounds ridiculous. I've literally had it happen to me and it was a big mess. So I'm, again, trying to help you with all the mistakes that I have made so you won't make them too. And the same thing with this below, I just copy this formula down. So this says if B3 here is greater than 19, again, if it meets that criteria, you put a blank, so it will take 6 o'clock away. If not, whatever's in A3. Okay, so it's just beautiful how it works, and it's so nice. And I have used Choice Eliminator 2, I think, and I had so many problems with it. I don't use it anymore. I only use this one. So I hope this helps. It's amazing, and I use it on a lot of things. So I hope you enjoy Form Ranger and try this one out. It's super fun. And if you have any questions, my email's in the presentation and I'm happy to help you. Thank you.